Welcome to the new chapter in physics, chapter 9, mechanical properties of solids. We know the properties of solids. Solids have definite shape and size. Solids are crystalline and they can be amorphous also. And the density of solids is slightly higher than their liquid states. So these are the facts which we already know about solids. And when we compare the different states of matter, we know that intermolecular distance is very small in the case of solids compared to the other states like liquids and gases. That is why they have definite shape and definite volume. Now coming to the term deforming force. We have already studied about force. So deforming force means a force which changes the size, shape or volume of an object. That force is called as deforming force. So deforming force can produce a change either in the size or in the shape or in the volume of the object. And whenever a body is subjected to deforming force, a restoring force is developed in the body. So this is a common fact. And if the deforming force is applied, restoring force will be developed. The purpose of restoring force is to regain the shape, size and volume of the object. Now coming to elasticity and elastic deformation. Elasticity is the property by which a body can regain its original size, shape and volume when a deforming force is acting on it. That property is called as elasticity. So elasticity is the property of a body by virtue of which it tends to regain its original size and shape when the applied force is removed. This is called as elasticity, and the deformation caused is known as elastic deformation. Example of perfectly elastic body is quartz. So when we compare wood and steel, steel is more elastic than wood. Now the opposite term of elasticity is plasticity. Substances which cannot regain their state when the deforming force is removed, that property is called as, or that objects are called as plastic objects, and the property is called as plasticity. Wood is actually a plastic object, that means it shows plasticity. Perfectly plastic body, its example is putty. So plasticity and elasticity are the two opposite properties shown by the objects. Now elastic behavior of solids. When a solid is deformed, the atoms or molecules are displaced from their equilibrium position, which causes a change in the interatomic distances. That is what is happening. That means when a deforming force is acting on a solid, atoms or molecules, we already said they are tightly packed in a solid. So they get displaced from their equilibrium position, which changes the interatomic distances. I hope that you remember when the forces which produce translatory motion or rotatory motion in a body, when such forces are acting, interparticle distances are not changing. Interparticle distances in a crystal, it changes only when it is undergoing the application of a deforming force. So when a deforming force is acting, interatomic distance is changing. And when the deforming force is removed, the interatomic forces tend to drive them back to the original position. That's why we call that force as restoring force, which restores the original state. Thus the body regains its original shape and size. So elastic bodies, they will regain its original shape and size like this. Plastic bodies will not regain their original shape and size. So that is what we mean by elastic behavior of solids. Now coming to the next term, that is a new physical quantity called stress. We already mentioned that when a body is under the action of a deforming force, a restoring force is developed in the body which tries to bring back the body to the original shape and size. This restoring force developed per unit area is known as stress. If F is the force applied, see, the restoring force developed also will be equal to the applied force. How much is the applied force? That much will be the restoring force developed. So if F is the force applied and A is the area of cross section, then the magnitude of stress is force by area F by A. Therefore, the SI unit of stress is Newton per meter square, that is otherwise called Pascal. So the thing is this, Pascal we usually represent pressure. The unit Pascal is used to represent pressure. So usually we write stress in the unit Newton per meter square, but 1 Newton per meter square is the same as Pascal. And its dimensional formula is mL raised to minus 1 T raised to minus 2. Now there are different types of stress. Longitudinal stress, otherwise called linear stress, normal stress, otherwise called hydraulic stress, shearing stress, or called tangential stress. So three types of stress are there. Among these three, in our syllabus only two types of stress we need to study: longitudinal stress and normal stress. Shearing stress is removed from the syllabus. So let's discuss longitudinal stress first. Longitudinal stress means the stress developed when there is a change in length of a body. Whenever the applied force or deforming force produces a change in length, the restoring force developed per unit area is called as longitudinal stress or linear stress. That change in length, we usually say change in length, so it can be an increase in length or decrease in length. Increase in length we say elongation, and the decrease in length we say compression. So the stress are of the longitudinal stress itself is of two types: tensile stress and compressive stress. Tensile stress means the stress developed when a body is elongated, and the compressive stress means the stress which is produced when it is compressed, when an object is compressed. So that's what we mean by longitudinal stress. So generally longitudinal stress is the stress developed when the deforming force produces a change in the length. Now the next term is normal stress or hydraulic stress. Normal stress means the stress developed is normal to the surface everywhere. So applied force also will be normal to the surface everywhere. So such type of stress, it produces a change in volume. So when a change in volume is produced, the associated stress, we call it as normal stress or hydraulic stress. So where do we see such a situation? Very simple example we have. When a solid is immersed in a liquid, say water, from all sides the liquid will be exerting pressure on this solid substance, and that pressure exerted will be normal to the surface. So under the action of this pressure from all the sides, there will be a decrease in volume for the solid object which is immersed in the liquid. So that is an example of normal stress or hydraulic stress. Now next term to discuss it is strain. Strain is the ratio of change in dimension to the original dimension. It has no unit and no dimension. So if there is a change in length, that change in length to original length can be called as the strain. If there is a change in volume, that change in volume to original volume, that ratio we can call as the strain. So likewise, there are three types of strain, but we discuss only two types. Third one is deleted. So we discuss two types of strain, longitudinal strain and volume strain. So longitudinal strain or linear strain, it is defined as the ratio of change in length to the original length of the body. Therefore, longitudinal strain is equal to delta L by L. Similarly, volume strain, it is the ratio of change in volume to the original volume. So volume strain is delta V by V. So whatever be the type of strain, both the numerator and denominator of that ratio has the same physical quantity. So that is why we say strain is a unitless, dimensionless physical quantity. So now we discussed two new physical quantities, stress and strain. And there exists a relation between these two, the stress and strain. And that relation is well stated by a law called Hooke's law. So what is Hooke's law? For small deformations, the stress is directly proportional to strain. That's what Hooke's law states. So for small deformation, for large deformations, we cannot state this, because in case of such large deformations, the body may undergo permanent deformation. So that law is not applicable. So only for small deformations, Hooke's law is valid. So for small deformations, the stress is directly proportional to strain, or stress is equal to a constant into strain. That proportionality constant, it is known as modulus of elasticity. So that term is very important one, most important of the chapter we can say, modulus of elasticity. So what is modulus of elasticity? Generally we use the letter K to represent modulus of elasticity, and that is equal to stress by strain. So mathematically, the ratio of stress to strain is called as modulus of elasticity. So as we discussed, there are two types of stress and two types of strain, linear stress and linear strain, volume stress and volume strain. So we can define two types of moduli of elasticity. So they are called Young's modulus and bulk modulus respectively. So about the modulus of elasticity, we will be discussing in detail later. Whatever be the type of modulus of elasticity, it depends on nature of the material of the body and temperature, and it is independent of dimensions of the body, and its SI unit is the same as that of stress, that is Newton per meter square or Pascal. Now here comes another important topic of the chapter, that is stress strain graph. So here we have a graph in which stress is taken along y axis and strain is taken along x axis. So that is to be noted, stress is along y axis and strain is taken along x axis. That's what we mean by stress strain graph. So stress strain graph of a body, it is as shown in figure. Now we need to explain this graph. So here stress is applied, that means we will be applying a force. That applied force produces a stress. That stress is marked along y axis, and the corresponding strain, it is taken from x axis. So the graph will be as shown. It has certain regions OA, AB, BC, CD, DE, etc. And the points also we need to explain. So first let's consider the region of the graph from O to A. What is the significance of the graph from O to A? We can see that the graph is almost linear. It is a straight line graph. It means that stress and strain, they are directly proportional. Stress is directly proportional to strain, or stress by strain will be a constant. That's what we stated as Hooke's law. That means in the region OA, the substance, it obeys Hooke's law. So the region in which the Hooke's law is obeyed by the substance, that region in the graph we call as elastic region. OA is called as elastic region, and the limiting value A, so corresponding to the point A, will have a value of stress. That stress corresponding to the point A, we call it as proportional limit. That is called as proportional limit. So up to A, the body, it obeys Hooke's law. Now looking in the region AB, there also we can say that on the removal of deforming force, the body will come back to the original state. But here, stress is not proportional to strain. So stress is not proportional to strain, but the body comes back to the original state on the removal of the deforming force. That is the peculiarity of the region AB. So in the region OA, there also if we remove the deforming force, the body will come back to the original state. In the region AB also that character is there. So what is the difference between the regions OA and AB? In the region OA, the stress is proportional to strain, and in the region AB, stress is not proportional to strain. So the point B, or the stress corresponding to the point B, is called as elastic limit, and the stress corresponding to the point A, it was called as proportional limit, and that corresponding to the point B is called as elastic limit, or it is also called as yield point. It is also called as yield point. So up to that it shows elastic behavior. Now the region BC or BD we can consider. In that region we can see that as the stress increases, strain also increases. For a small increase in the stress, there is large increase in strain. That's what the region BD shows. So in between B and D, at any point say C, if we remove the deforming force, the body will not return to the original state, but it may return to some other state, but we can say that the body is undergoing a permanent deformation. So instead of, from the graph we can say, instead of going back to the state O, the body is going back to some other state O dash we can say. So that what difference O dash we can call it as permanent set. So in short, after elastic limit, if the deforming force is removed, the body shows a permanent deformation, we can say. Now up to D, up to the point D, this behavior is exhibited by the substance. That means as the stress increases, strain also increases. For a small increase in stress, there is a large increase in strain. That's what is observed at up to D. Now from D to E, it shows that even if the stress is decreased, the strain is found to increase. For a decrease in stress, there is an increase in strain. That's what we can see in the graph from D to E. So even if we decrease the applied force, there is an increase in the strain. And finally, it reaches a point called fracture point. So even if we decrease the stress there, that means even a slight change in the state of the substance will cause the body to undergo a breaking. That means it will break. So that point is called as fracture point. So we have discussed many terms in between: proportional limit, elastic limit or yield point, and we have discussed fracture point also. Now we have one more point here, that is D. So we said up to D, if we increase the stress, strain also is increasing. So the stress corresponding to that point D is called as ultimate tensile strength. So that stress corresponding to the point D is called ultimate tensile strength. The ultimate tensile strength and the fracture points, that means D and E, If these 2 points, if they are close, we say the material is brittle. Brittle means it will break soon, like plastic or wood. If we apply sufficient force, it will break. That's what we mean by brittle. On the other hand, if the 2 points are far apart in the graph, if we draw the stress strain graph for a substance, and for that substance, if these 2 points, the point D and E, are far apart, we say the material is ductile. So, brittleness and ductility, they are easily observed from this stress strain graph. Now, we have another type of substances called elastomers. Elastomers are the substances which can be stretched to cause large strains. Such substances are called elastomers. That means stress and strain, they are not proportional, we can say, but as the stress is applied, there will be a huge increase in the strain. Tissue of aorta, rubber, etc. are examples of elastomers. Usually we feel that rubber is elastic, but actually it is not elastic, it belongs to the category elastomer. That means the strain produced by the application of a small force, it is very large value. Such substances we call as elastomers. So, if we draw stress strain graph for an elastomer, the graph obtained will be of this shape. That shape will be different from the previous one. The elastomer will have the stress strain graph as shown. So, this particular graph is for the tissue of aorta. So, only this much for today. Thank you.